Hi, and welcome to the Tom Morgan Drum Studio. Today I'm going to start a new series of videos on technique and how to develop technique. And you may or may not be ready for these videos at this point, and if you're not, just keep going through the videos on the fundamental book and the videos that will soon be up on the rudimental book. And eventually you'll get to a place where you want to start practicing these. But if you're, a fairly experienced drummer, at least intermediate level, and you want to develop your rolls, then this video will help you with a very simple couple of exercises that will get your rolls sounding better and just getting more control over the stick. So, first of all, the secret to a good technique exercise is repetition. That's how we learn, is through repetition. These exercises, they're short, they're easy to memorize, and so they work really well to just focus in on one aspect of your drumming. In this case, it's going to be either the buzz roll or the double bounce roll. Okay, now when you start these exercises, it's really important that you don't worry about how good you sound right at the beginning. In fact, if you've never done these before, I can almost guarantee you that you won't sound very good, and that's fine. The first time I tried it, I didn't sound very good either. But the only way to get better is to kind of allow yourself to not sound good for a while. If you think about anything you've learned how to do that's of any value, the first time you tried it, you likely didn't do so well. Riding a bike. If you can think about when you learned to do that, you probably fell down the first few times. But you just kept trying and you kept doing it, and eventually you get to a place where you can do it without even thinking. And that's the point we want to get to with this. So we're going to start with something I call the buzz roll exercise. And you'll find it in both of my books, the sequential approach to fundamental snare drum and the sequential approach to rudimental snare drum. In the rudimental book, it's on page 8. Both of these exercises are on page 8, so I'm going to direct you to that. But you'll find the buzz roll exercise in the fundamental book too. If you're just learning how to play a buzz roll, let me just say that to play a good buzz roll, first of all, you have to have your grip worked out, so you have a good fulcrum. And if you have questions about that, go back and watch my video on the grip. So assuming you have that and you have a good fulcrum between your first joint of the index finger, first joint of the middle finger, and the pad of the thumb, if you think about it, when you play single strokes, you use quite a loose grip. Okay, all I'm doing is letting the sticks bounce up. Okay, if I want to get my sticks to buzz, what I do is squeeze a little bit between my thumb, index, and middle finger to create a spring that's going to give me a buzz. So if you are new to this, you might want to practice just playing individual buzzes with each hand. Okay? Assuming you can do that, we want to make it into an exercise. So if you can visualize, if you read music and you understand 16th notes, if you can visualize a measure of 16th notes single stroke, where you're using a loose grip, and then a measure of 16th notes where you have a firmer grip and you're going to get a buzz. So we're going to do 4 counts of single 16th notes, 1 E enda, 2 E enda, 3 E enda, 4 E enda, and then 4 counts with buzz strokes for the 16ths. So it sounds like this. Okay, now you want your buzzes to be true buzzes. You don't want them to sound grainy like this. okay? You want them to be so that you don't distinguish an individual beat in them, that they're just buzzes. If we take this over to the snare drum and we play it, you'll see that we want the buzzes to connect. So we get the smoothest roll we can possibly get with the least amount of pulsation. Okay? Now it's easier to do it on a snare drum because the snare drum reverberates. It rings together so the notes connect more. The buzzes connect more. But on a pad like this or a Remo pad, they're not going to connect at all. And so in some ways it's better to practice it on a pad, because if you can make a pad sound smooth, then when you get over to the drum, it's really going to sound smooth. Okay? If you don't read 16th notes, you can just think of the word watermelon and just play 4 watermelons, single stroke, watermelon, 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 and then 4 watermelons, buzz stroke. So again, watermelon, 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 watermelon. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E, 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E. Okay? Now, how long do you do it? As long as you can possibly do it, because you need quantity before you get quality. The only reason I can do it better than you probably can is because I'm old. I've done this for 50 years. And so I've had so long to repeat playing buzz rolls that now it's like walking down the street for me. But it wasn't that way at first. I had to go through the agony of not sounding good, but I just kept playing. If you start playing and you don't sound good, maybe your buzzes aren't connecting or something, and so you stop, and then you try again and you stop, and you keep stopping, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to allow yourself to kind of stink at it for a while. Just don't worry that it doesn't sound like you want it, but as you're playing, listen to yourself and adjust your grip. If you're getting short, stubby little bounces like this, then you're probably squeezing at the fulcrum too tightly. If you're getting multiple bounces instead of a buzz, then you got to squeeze a little harder. And you have to learn through experience how to find that sweet spot where you're going to get just the right response from the stick off the pad. So do it for 2 or 3 minutes without stopping. You can literally do this while you're watching TV, as long as you're not driving everybody else crazy that might be watching with you. But it's relatively mindless, but at the same time, you do have to have your mind engaged, because you have to be listening to yourself, because it doesn't do any good to just continually play it poorly. You've got to be constantly listening and constantly adjusting until you find that place where the sticks respond the way you want them to. All right? But long periods of time, the longer you do it, the sooner you're going to get to where you can do it well. Now, the other exercise is very much like that. It's called the double bounce exercise. And a double bounce roll is a very important type of roll that gives you the rudimental style of roll. So if you're playing in a marching band or a drum corps and you're going to play rolls 99 times, well, maybe 95 times out of 100, you're going to play a double bounce roll. So instead of a buzz on each hand, I want 2 beats. So the stick just rebounds once. Now, how do I get the stick to do that? Well, again, it all comes back to the fulcrum. If I play a single stroke with a very loose grip, and if I get a buzz stroke by having a firm grip, then obviously if I want it to be a double bounce, I'm going to have a tension in between that of the single stroke and the buzz. And it takes time, again, just through experimentation and playing, to find that. Now you might get something like this at first. If you get more than two bounces, then you're squeezing a little bit hard. Try relaxing it a little bit. Notice I have one wrist motion and I get two for the price of one. I'm not going like this. Two separate wrist actions. No, just one wrist action, but my grip sets me up to get just the right pressure to get two for the price of one. Okay? Again, that takes practice, and that may be where you have to start practicing right there at first. Once you get to where you can do that, then we're going to take the same format of 4/16 notes, 4 counts of 4/16 notes single stroke, and then the same 4 counts of 16th notes with double stroking each one. So I'm going to use a loose grip for the first 4 counts, and then I'm going to firm it up a little bit to get the double bounce for the second 4 counts. And just keep repeating that. So it'll sound like this. Okay? If I go over to the snare drum, it's going to sound like this. Okay? So, the same holds true for this. The way to get better at it is to just do it a million times. A billion times. Do it and do it and do it. But while you're doing it, listen to yourself. Adjust your grip until you get exactly the right response you're looking for. In this case, a double. And we don't want the first note of the double to be louder than the second. We don't want this. We want to kick that second note in, that second rebound. It has to be as loud as the first. And people say, well, how do you make that happen? Well, now you're getting into some pretty intricate detail about the grip. But the way I think of it is I firm up my middle finger just a little bit. I create just a little bit more resistance from my middle finger, which helps that second rebound come back the same volume as the first one. So, is that what I'm doing? Really? I think so. But it's so intuitive for me now that it's hard for me to really analyze what exactly am I doing. But I do think that firming up that middle finger helps. So I'm going to do this for long periods of time. Repeating it until the cows come home. And it takes the cows a while to get home, so you're going to have to do it for quite a while. And do it every day. Over a period of days and weeks and months, you'll begin to see an improvement if you practice both of these exercises. Record yourself and listen back. Video yourself and watch your grip and your stroke height and all of that to see if it's consistent. Practice in front of a mirror. All these things can be very, very helpful. Practice in front of somebody else that maybe you have a teacher that you can play this in front of and let them give you suggestions as well. If you're a band director and you're teaching beginning band, I would try to introduce this buzz roll exercise as soon as possible, even before the student has learned 16th notes. Just draw 4 watermelons on the paper and tell them to play 4 single stroke watermelons and 4 buzz stroke watermelons. And then, later on you can tell them that they're actually playing 16th notes. But you don't want to wait forever to get this started. When I teach students, I get them started buzzing on the first lesson, and I as soon as they're able, I get them doing this exercise, the buzz roll exercise. The double bounce a little bit later, but I get them on that too as soon as I can. All right, so hopefully those are helpful. If you have questions, leave them in the comments below. Be sure and subscribe, because we're going to be doing more and more informative videos like this. Like this video, and I just appreciate you watching. So we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.